This video is brought to you by Original Magic Art. Original Magic Art offers a variety of gaming supplies featuring official art from Magic's vast universe. You can also shop your favorite artists' individual creations, such as their original token designs, to give some unique flair to your decks. Original Magic Art, in my opinion, is the best outlet for collecting your favorite pieces of art from Magic in a way that's practical, playable, and affordable. And now, you can use code Vagabond Gallery for 10% off when you spend $10 or more on almost anything. Click the link in the description to shop their selection of unique offerings or visit originalmagicart.store. The first step a Catholic priest must take to exorcise a demonic presence is to discover its name. The priest may spend hours, or days, or months interrogating the host the demon operates within, trying to trick it into revealing its name. The Christian God gave Adam the ability to name creatures, giving man dominion over them. Likewise, once the name of the evil is uncovered, the priest has power over it. They may then begin the rites required to cast the demon back to hell. Names and anonymity both hold their own types of power. This idea, while rooted in many global mythologies and religions, also holds true in science and objective reality. Historically, demonic possession has been used to explain many physical and mental afflictions when no other cause had yet been discovered. But sometimes, even today, our mortal strife seems to reverberate between these distinctions. We sometimes suffer ailments which feel not fully rational nor wholly metaphysical. Namely, trauma. Like the ancient shaman or bygone priest, we too must deduce our demon's title. To begin the process of healing any emotional trauma, we must first seek out its name. Art is no stranger to depicting traumatic events. War, famine, pestilence, a swath of apocalyptic scenarios. Art has long been used to depict the height of human plight. Even the most talented of wordsmiths have sometimes struggled to describe such brutality, and so what is left but to describe it visually? Art movements ebb and flow with major historical events. In the late 1300s, the bubonic plague inspired the earliest depictions of the Grim Reaper. The onset of mass and unexplainable death left the people of medieval Europe bewildered. Like the gods of Theros, a morbid incarnation sprung from the frightened minds of those left behind to shovel the bodies. Skeletons have long been a symbol of death and decay. But with the swiftness with which bloodlines were fell, death was no longer just an unwelcome visitor. It had become a force which moved deliberately. An invisible agent was given a face and a name that could be reckoned with. In robes reminiscent of contemporary funeral garb, death arrived to cut down untimely victims in broad sweeps with its scythe, the primary tool for harvesting at the time. This imagery would persist to this day, though it conjures less thought. The Grim Reaper is mostly just another pop culture icon appearing on badass shirts. Over centuries of confrontation with the incarnation of death and the progress of medical science, we have reckoned with the Reaper. Something sinister still lingers, though. A shapeless, thousand-headed hydra as heavy as a tombstone bears down on us all. One of its heads, I can tell you, looks like this. Its name is Amygdala. It sits right between your eyes, deep in your temporal lobe, and controls your emotion and behavior. Beyond your conscious control, The amygdala is best known for processing fear. Like a torn muscle, the amygdala can become ungovernable, blindly navigating you, constantly injecting you with irrational terror. Instead of being scooped up by loving arms and being told it's okay, our amygdala expeditiously files the pain away to graciously remind us forevermore. Like the cyclone of death that swept through 14th century Europe, it can feel impossible to comprehend these demons. They can have infinite faces and a name for each. In 2012, Michael C. Hayes offered us one possibility in his art, distress. Named for the feeling of extreme anxiety, sorrow, or pain, distress is a dark and gorgeous oil render. What stands out about it is Hayes' brilliant merging of painterly realism and surrealist motif. His art is riddled with elements of Romanticism and Baroque, among other classic movements, but can best be described as imaginative realism. Imaginative realism refers to art which utilizes classical realist techniques to render postmodern subjects and environments. Distress features an extreme close-up of our main subject, a bald man clasping his face with both hands. Gripped to the top of his head is a miniature doppelganger. The characters are placed in front of an incredibly dark orange-brown background, which is effectively black. This minute glow, along with the predominantly warm palette, feels hot and uncomfortable, like a slight fever. It begins the slow, creeping anxiety in the work. The focus of the piece is to illustrate the maddening delusion of our subject. You can't tell if this is really happening or if he's under some sort of spell. But if he perceives this ordeal as objectively real, does it matter if it's a hallucination? The trauma will last a lifetime, regardless of reality. That's the pain of it. Grim and deeply disturbing, Hayes has posed his main character frozen with fear. He is not batting away the doll-sized clone, nor is he buckled in pain. He is just frozen. A bloodshot eye struggles to identify the fiend which sprung from his head. What makes this scene so unnerving? Hayes has utilized a plethora of chaotic angles in this composition. The fingers of his top hand claw tightly at the one beneath. His wrist is bent at an almost 90-degree angle to his thumb. The doppelganger is on all fours, creating harsh angles with its bent knees and elbows. The use of angles are a quiet detail we find subconsciously unsettling. The scene becomes busy with contrasting actions. This is then compounded by the shadows left by the apparition, and the lighting may be the most important element of this composition. Hayes has rendered a single, white, direct light source above and to the right of the characters. This spotlight, in conjunction with the featureless background, makes a highly theatrical scene. It's flooded with the Gothic mood of a Shakespearean monologue. This is often referred to as Rembrandt lighting, after the famed artist. It marries perfectly with the melodramatic pose of the hands, the two of which are invaluable to the mood of the painting. Melodrama was a theatrical movement popular during the Victorian era. Combining music and dialogue, melodramas aim to tell sensationalized stories in favor of realistic ones. The purpose was to focus on the emotions of the characters and generate deeper empathy in the audience. The larger-than-life gestures common in melodramas are clearly still influential today, as they are on full display in Distress. Look at the slung-back head, the craned eye, gaping, downturned mouth, and unnatural hand pose, which all powerfully illustrate our subject's agony. Full of energy, yet completely petrified. You can practically feel every single heartbeat. Michael C. Hayes has intimately portrayed one of countless horrors in the world of Magic the Gathering in his art for distress. But who is this man? What broke his psyche? Perhaps the answer lies in our dreams. If we were to apply a Freudian view, we may consider this miniature Cretan a manifestation of his ego, the subconscious piece of us that mediates between the morality of the superego and the chaos of the id. Swiss psychoanalyst Carl Jung called this the shadow self, our shadow being the piece of us that we fight to maintain the illusion that we're more moral than we actually are, the Mr. Hyde to our Dr. Jekyll. If we apply this ideology to dreaming of our body double, it becomes representative of our subconscious trying to reach out to our consciousness. Why would it eject violently from the eye of our subject, though? In mythology, eyes tend to be literal in their symbolism. They represent wisdom, the solution to a problem, or seeing the truth. Typically, when we dream of removing something from our eye, it represents a suppressed truth being revealed to us. But Hayes' scene is more aggressive. The creature bores its way from the eye socket, suggesting instead of a repressed truth becoming clear, a truth going ignored is forcing its way out. Our character holds his right eye. The right side classically embodies the rational side, the logical, and, most interestingly, the conscious side. We are led to believe then that the shadow side, the ego, is clawing its way to the surface, demanding to be recognized by our subject. It pierces the veil between subconscious and conscious without consent. It clambers its way up the skull and atop the mind. It leaves behind a trail of black handprints. And therein lies our final clue. You see, the handprints symbolize actions from our main character's past, the blackness of them literally portraying the darkness of that which they've committed. It is therefore my belief that Michael C. Hayes' distress does not depict a traumatic ordeal. It is trauma. His own mind is attacking him. The past actions of this man are bursting beyond his subconscious, disparaging the lie he wishes to maintain. He is not as moral as he would like to believe. The man must reckon with reality. Jung would insist this man embrace his shadow, writing, "The meeting with one's self is, at first, the meeting with one's own shadow. The shadow is a tight passage, a narrow door, whose painful constriction no one is spared who goes down to the deep well. But one must learn to know oneself in order to know who one is. That is to say, to pry the power from this specter's grasp, you must first shake its hand. You must come to know it. Give it a face. Give it a name." Hayes has presented one possible face to one potential trauma. It's deeply intriguing in composition and immaculate in execution. Trauma doesn't have to be something you merely endure. Many avenues of treatment have been successful in helping patients cope with traumatic pasts. Art therapy, for example, has been demonstrably successful with individuals who suffer from PTSD. Art making bypasses the breakdown of the speech-language area of the brain that results from PTSD. Because art and trauma are encoded in the same area of the brain, art literally allows patients to articulate what they otherwise were unable. Then, together, the patient and therapist can work retrospectively to uncover the demon's name and begin to exorcise it. Art can be a vessel for trauma. Filling our art with emotion has the power to unburden us. Work for Magic the Gathering is no different. You may know this card, Admiral Beckett Brass, featuring art by Jason Rainville. But did you know this is a portrait of Rainville's late mother, Valerie? You may have drafted Kindly Ancestor with art from Justina Dura. But did you know Dura memorialized her grandmother in this painting? Both artists show bright, warm, smiling visages of their loved ones. They're depicted as the artists remember them, and as the artists would like them to be remembered. Confronting loss is part of the human experience, and memorializing loved ones helps us process our emotions. When we pour our memories into art, it becomes a vessel we can reach back into when we want to smile, or laugh, or cry. The cacophony of mental health issues wails inside us all. I find solace in remembering that, like oil on canvas, it's only chemical, and I can master it. Trauma may be permanent and always underneath, but I can shape it, move it around, or overpower it with brighter scenes. The next time you're playing Magic, stop and look at your removal spells. Your discard, your mill, your draw. Try to empathize with the illustrations you see. Explore the story untold. I'm sure you'll soon come to realize that for every distress, there's a ponder. For every cruel ultimatum, there's an inspired ultimatum. For all the grief, there is endurance to be mustered. This video's sponsor, Original Magic Art, will give you 10% off your order of $10 or more when you apply code VAGABONDGallery at checkout. You can buy playmats, prints, even unique tokens from your favorite artists. Remember to support the sponsors who support me, and you can also join my Patreon through the link below, and keep up with me on Twitter at YetiSkull. Thank you for watching.